guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Let's jump right into the crux of things. Okay, so this is the wawasee 2000 watt blackcat meter. I can't remember what model this is. I just wanted to have one of these when I was a kid. I thought, man, this thing was the shit. What I'm looking for is the one that's got, well, like the other one, but not the wood grain. I want black. There's going to be two of these we're going to do, you guys. So, my friend Robert, he come up to me at the BBI Bakerman break and goes, man, I got some watt meters for you to look at. I said, oh yeah? He goes, yeah, they're black cats. You know the kind you like? And I was like, I don't know if I necessarily like them, but I know how to work on them. He goes, good. I said, well, what are we doing with them? And he goes, I just want you to make sure they're right. I went, well, I'll give it a shot. So we're going to throw some small technology at this. Now, you got to remember, this is just a general gauge. This isn't like a hyper-accurate laboratory tool that allows you to read mils of watts. And, I mean, the digits only go 4 past the decimal point. I mean, we're not getting too carried away. This is a CBers watt meter, but myself, I hold a happy little place for these things in my own heart. Really do. And water, slightly enriched hydrogen with a slight tinge of oxygen to it. In my process of looking at this thing, I've noticed that the bridge has been partially burned in this thing at some point or another, and they've gone in and fabric cobbled it back together. Don't care about that. We're just here to work with what's in front of us. So, this is a neat little meter, you guys. I happen to love these things. Don't let my ego fool you. I enjoy working on these little wasabi's. They're cute. I don't have a great big stockpile of parts for these, though. Although I could if I decided to start working on these a lot, because there's a lot of these out there, man. They crank these puppies out like sausage coming out of the factory. Okay, so the first thing I noticed, besides the watt meter's off and the forward reflex switch is dirty, therefore it's not making good contact, so it makes it to check SWRs a little tough. We're going to fix all that. But first things first, let's zero out the freak counter. Now, I happen to know my bench radio is dead nuts on the money. Why? Because I said it. I use two means of measure. So first things first, I've got my incredibly expensive portable handheld spectrum analyzer, which I trust implicitly, made by Despace. Okay? We'll go ahead and we'll keep zooming in here. Give the camera a second to catch up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to test on channel 20. 27.2050. Okay? That's where our center indicator is at. 27.200. Okay? We're dead nuts on frequency, and we're only 5 kcs wide, with a total occupation of what? 1.5 kcs unmodulated, which is not that bad taking into account the T-bag radio that it's hooked up to, which is the RCI 2950 bench radio. So now that we've got that as our frequency determinant, oh, looks like my battery's going to die. See how far we get before it dies. We're going to go over here, and we're going to go to my waveform analyzer. And we're going to scooch up here. Now, this thing's so old that Jesus was walking the earth. Now I want to look, I'm in the process of updating the whole bench, and if it's got a cathode ray in it, in a tube, I want to get rid of it. So that means all 3 of these pieces of equipment are going to go away. Go give me a nice Roy Gold or something. So let's see, where are we here? frequency, looking at channel A. It takes forever to count up. We're dead on the money. 27.20. Kill my mic here. Any kind of noise, this thing takes a month of Sundays to recount. Apparently lost its brain here. Dead nuts, 27.2051. 50 floating. Close enough for the girls I go with at band camp. Okay, so now we've established the center line. Let's go over here. Pew. All right. So we're a little low. Now in here is a little tiny capacitor. Cha-da! Cha-ta! Okay. So my friend Kerry, when I was a kid, his handle was Bouncer. He had one of these, but he had the black version, the one I want to get so bad. It's got the oscilloscope freak counter in it, just 2,000 watts on it, you know. Oscilloscope is so blurry that you couldn't see AC on the edge of the signal if you wanted to. I want it out of sentimental reasons. Okay? Now, I'm sure at this point the reason that we've got this digit clicking is because there's a capacitor in here someplace, a filtration cap that's just a scoosh on the outside, but we're not going to worry too much about that. We're not. What we're going to now look at is our power output. If you guys look right about here, check here, you'll see there's a 5-watt slug in that meter hole. We're sitting directly on the 5-watt mark, but over here we're on the 20-watt hair scale, and we're showing about 7 watts displayed. Let's take our modulation and turn our modulation back up so we can introduce distortion into the amplified carrier. Yay! Hello! Hello! We know that top number's right, but the bottom number's down. Alright, let me change batteries before we die here. So, upon further review and staring at it for a hot minute, the traces that are all in this area, all in here, are all chooched. They're all gone, they're burnt up. So how this is supposed to work is you're going to have a coupling bar and some counterfacing diodes. Okay, let me widen this out a little bit. Counterfacing diodes and a little bit of a capacitor as a blocker, and then you're going to have a trace bar that goes across, and it's going to feed 3 different tap points. The 3 different tap points are going to allow you to adjust your 20, your 200, and your 2,000 watt scale. The way this is set up now, there's no way for signal to get from this portion of the board, then to this scale, then to this scale. Okay, so we're going to have to recreate that because it's gone. We are going to make this thing work, mark my words. So this 50K potentiometer is well within the Wasabi specs, okay, blackcat specs. On the back side, in their infinite wisdom, on the back side of this board, Wasabi had a couple knockdown resistors that were in here, like a 500 ohm, a 1K, and like a 1.5K ohm resistor. So we're gonna fabric cobble something together. So I've got to recreate the trace that's going to feed each one of these sections independently, so that when we go from each one of the scales, we have full control of what the meter's doing. Now, right now it's only reading in the 20 watt scale, and it's reading 98% accurate. The reason it's not fully accurate is because of the way that they've got this fabric cobbled together. So we're going to rip all this garbage out, and we're going to start over, and we're going to make it right. So that's where we're at now. Now, it is 3 o'clock in the morning right now. And I'm not going to lie, I've had a long day. Phones rang quite a bit, and I spent a lot of time on the phone with some people. So, peace, yo. I will be back tomorrow. Unplug my irons, and we are going to call this a night. I'll be back. See you guys tomorrow. Bye. Man, I shot the first portion of this like 3 days ago, and I've had so much stuff go on over here. I don't even know where to start. Anyhow, this meter's done. What it is, I went in and cleaned up the bridge network and replaced all the parts that were in this little section of the board. Nothing in there was right. This would have never worked. It was sold as a working unit. The guy bought it as a working unit. It is now 100% correct. So to make it so that we got some trimmability or adjustability to the display, I robbed some variable resistors out of a radio, and then I got to dig around in a box, and I found the right valued resistors I need as knockdown resistors. So now we've got it reading within like probably 2% all the way across the board. Now these meters are a little swing happy, a little generous. I think everybody out there in the universe can agree to that. So yeah, let's zoom on out here and let's take a quick look for here what we got going on. So we're going to start down here on the 20 watt scale. Nope, got to widen it out some more. Come on, give it to me. Okay, so we've already, let's see, no, I need to back up because I'm going to delete that other piece of video that I shot. I didn't like the attitude, the frame of mind, or the things I was saying. So let's get rid of that 1,000 watt slug. We're going to put a 50K slug in its place, or 50K, yeah, 50 kilowatt slug. We're going to put a 50 watt slug in its spot. And we're going to show ourselves a baseline here. So full deflection all the way to the right on the meter over there is going to be 50. And we're talking about this one here, not here. We'll look here in a minute. Over here, full deflection, 50 watts. And as you can see, it's sitting right on the hash mark between the 5 and the 10, which means 5 watts. So now we're going to look here, 5 watts. Let's go ahead and drive this up a little bit. About 22 whole watts. Oh man, I got screwdriver happy, I forgot. So, go back in here. Oh my God, we're transmitting with 7 million watts now. All right. Right on the money there. I'm going to go ahead and go into the 200 watt scale. Here's your 10 watt mark, sitting right between the 5 and the 10. Pretty close. Pretty close. Now, we do have this running through a couple different things here. Got quite a few different little elements in line here. What I'm not showing you is that we're going to need this for this next segment. Is this straight 6-pill that I've been working on. I built this thing and it's been sitting on the floor. It needs to get done so I can get it sent off to its new owner. I built this and I was building a 6-pill 50 volt bipolar box at the same time. And my friend died. and well, my friend died, and I lost enthusiasm to work on it completely. I ended up buying my friend's amp that's sitting over there on the floor. I didn't want it. I was building it for him, and I ended up buying it, and it's just been sitting there. And this guy, I just can't seem to get back on the saddle on wanting to get these done. So I just needed a couple hundred watts, like 1,000 watts, so I could test this meter for this video. And I went and I grabbed it, and I realized, man, pretty much the only thing I got left to do is put stickers on it and get it out the door. I don't even think the guy wants the box anymore. I think I'm probably going to end up having to put this one up for sale. So all that aside, check it out. $50 watts, 50 watts. Of course, we're going to bury it in the corner in the 200 watt scale. So now go to the 2000 watt scale. 400 and 400. Now let me go over here and I'm going to pull this 50 watt slug out so we'll put damage in it. Poor little thing. You guys' house of abuse over here, man. Somebody's going to report me to the meter gods and say he's abusing them over there. Okay, so now we got a 1,000 watt element in that hole. We're in a 2,000 watt scale over here. So let's check it out. About 420 watts and displayed here. 420 watts on the button. On the button, they say. The button is a button. So, now that we got our baseline established, let's push a little bit more power through it. So where's the coax for the 955? It's right here. Over here having fun playing. All right. 80, 90 watts. Dead nuts on 1,000 watts here. Dead nuts on 1,000 watts there. Let me show you. It's about 980. You guys, I'm not gonna lie, this has been kind of fun getting to rebuild this meter. Within 1 or 2%. Can't ask more out of this old girl than that. Freak counter is now back on frequency. Forward reflect is working, and all the different power stages are working. So cool. On that note, let's take a look at the inside of the other one that I got. Whoop, whoop. Be right back. I had to revisit the 20 watt scale again. It's acting a little janky to me, so we're fully deflected. This here's a 50 watt slug again. Dead key numbers are exactly the same. Peak numbers are within 2 or 3 watts of each other. I'm gonna call that good for a meter that was built before I was born. Call it good. On to the next project. So this one here is the other end of the spectrum. It's gonna have roughly the same bridge in it. This thing's pretty rusted on the outside. Oh, screws are stripped. Pretty rusted. This one's got a little cathode ray tube in it. Very, very rudimentary. Signal scope. I don't know if you'd really want to use this to measure anything with, but it looks nice. I always wanted to get one of these. I I want to buy Yellow Jackets. Yellow Jacket's got 2 of these, and his are black. I had a friend of mine, his name was Kerry, I think I talked about that in the first video, that had this exact same unit, but all black. You know, of course, when you remember something from when you're a kid, everything's bigger. Remember this being bigger. There's some burned up marks on the inside of the tin lid there. Don't look too bad. I've seen worse. So usually what happens is this resistor goes kaput. I don't know, I don't see anything burnt. So once again, we've got our, the exact same technology. We have our decade counter board, okay. Then we've got our 3 different power level settings right here. And let's see, I don't remember what this is on the back. Oh yeah, it's our attenuator for our scope. It's around the back, and then we've got our bridge here in the middle with our cathode ray gun. Which I wish I had access to parts for these, but I don't. Like neon obtanium. So my good friend Tech9, we're like this. And he's seen the video that I put up of one of the other wasabis that I worked on. He's like, man, bro, BB, I'm gonna call you. So yeah, what are you gonna call me? He goes, well, first I'm gonna call you fat. And I said, well, there's no arguing with that, brother. He goes, the next thing I'm gonna tell you is I got me one of those meters. And I knew exactly what you were saying. When one of the guys that mentored you and helped teach you about radio, so I know exactly what you're saying. I'm gonna go get that thing right now. It's out in my garage, and I'm gonna send it to you right now. You guys have ever had the pleasure of talking with Thomas on the phone? He has smoked entirely too many cigarettes, to which I'm part of that same club. Smoked entirely too many cigarettes, and he's a little bit rough. His voice is, anyhow. So let's see what we can get going on here. Man, this thing is corroded. Brightness, focus. Ooh. Well, get the decade counter to light. See what happens here. Let's bring the voltage on slow. Oh, decade counter's counting. Oh, we got frequency lock. Okay, so the counter is working. Turn the counter off. Let's bring the scope up slow. Bobby, here it comes. Look at that. Took a couple minutes. Focus knob is frozen. Oh, brightness knob is chooched. Bet you that's why he sent it over here. Says flickering. Okay. Okay. Let's do some cleaning with some electronic wash. Well, I think this is about as good as we're going to get. The tube is still working in this thing, but it needed some help. It was a little sick. There is a transistor that controls the switch mode, and it is coupled with a capacitor. And the capacitor dried out, so I recapped part of the high voltage supply, and I changed the filtration cap that feeds the frequency counter. So now it doesn't float. That's nice and solid. It's not floating around. Now that last digit, I want to show you something. So when we go to kilohertz, we're going to drop this digit off. Let it recount. It's 27.0501. 0201. And that little bit of variance in the circuit is what accounts for that last digit kind of floating. But it was only down like a kc and a half when we first started. So the other thing was that the watt meter was way out. The kilohertz frequency switch was so corroded and dirty that you thought you needed a tetanus shot from touching it. The focus knob was frozen. We fixed that. The brightness knob was filthy. We cleaned that up. And the transformer on the inside that runs the whole cotton picking mess was flopping around in there loose. I've bolted it down in. So we're going to change our attenuator down to the bottom scale. We're just going to deal with radio power at the moment. There's our 20 peak. Now, as we can see, the scope is a little dim, and it's kind of hard to pick out the waveform, but it is there. So if you're able to find yourself a new scope for this counter and for this meter, all you got to do is change the scope, because everything around the scope is right. 20 whole whopping watts. Now the SWR, this was a challenge to get working, but I got it so we can go to the set indicator on 1 watt, which is all the book says that this thing needs. Okay, and it is fully functional. So let's go on up in power. Let's turn our attenuator up. No power in reflect. Let's go forward. About 420 watts displayed. It's a 1,000 watt slug right here. 420 watts displayed. So the top and the bottom scales are on the money. The 200 watt scale is on the money. Forward and reflect is fixed. Scope is fixed. Decade counter is fixed. The only thing I got left that I want to do is probably tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can wire brush off some of this rust, and we're going to repaint the inside of this tin. Since I spent so much time scrubbing the corrosion off the little buttons that are on the front of this thing. But I'll probably give that a quick blast of paint, which will make it look fairly new. And the inside, the knob's all cleaned up pretty well, except for this one. It's still got a little bit of a yellow tinge to it. This obviously was owned by a smoker, a serious hardcore smoker for many years, but taking into account what I was given when it came in here, this thing was not working, and now it is as close to 100% as we can get. Let's see what we get when we drive it with this radio. It's a straight 6 that I've got up for sale here. I mentioned it to one guy. He's trying to get his money together already on it. So, about 120 watts of drive in it. Roa. 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 Sure, you're a little low. So you can see in the meter in the background. Roa. Just a titch outside. Roa. Roa. Let's see how far that threw us off on our other measurement. This is literally all I've done for the last 2 hours, is sit here and play with the settings and trying to get it dialed in. Getting 2 watt meters to read exactly the same, it's always a chore. It's like I was explaining to the owner today, it's just a general measurement. It's not laboratory standards, for God's sake. Roa. Roa. 400, 400, 450, 450. It's about as good as we're going to get, I think. Watts, 100 watts. Roa. Roa. Not too bad. Love these old meters. These are generous, but you get them to read fairly close, as you've just seen. Okay guys, I'm going to put the tin on this thing now. This guy's got an amplifier here I got to work on, but I'm not going to be able to come around to it till next week. I got a bunch of other little small stuff I got to take care of. I've got a 2-pill going out of here. I want to get this beautiful work of art completed. I can't believe the guy doesn't want the box after waiting all this time to get it. He doesn't. This thing's got an oversized power supply. It's on an 8-pill honky heat sink that comes back to here. God, there's just... This thing's a pimp. Oh well, I'm sure to go find another home. I've never had any problems in that regards. Okay, on that note, I'm out of here. I'm going to finish this. I got a 4-pill I got to finish. I got a 6-pill I got to finish, and a 2-pill I got to finish. And apparently, I have to go and create the world's very first 2x8 all-inclusive strap-on amplifier. Man, I'm busy. Gentlemen, I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you coming by, checking out what I'm working on BBI's House of Pain. I'm sorry I didn't spend more time in front of the camera on this repair, but I figured you guys just wanted to see the meters work. My favorite one out of them all is the last one I just did, the black one with the green freak counter display. That thing's pretty. Alright, I gotta go. You guys have a good evening. Bump bump from the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Gentlemen, I'll see you. Bye-bye.